All right, guys, here we are live again. Thank y'all so much for being with me. I truly appreciate it. I love you guys. Love all my return guests as well. I'm very amped up whenever you guys come on. So as you get on board, be sure to hit that like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is released. But let's talk about some wins. How about that? So I've been going hard against, not against Donald Trump, but just in criticizing Donald Trump because of the Epstein stuff. But I'm going to skip over that tonight. Let's talk about some wins. We got a massive win for Trump in the pro-life movement with the Planned Parenthood, a mega center in Houston, being shut down. It's awesome. I'm happy to see that. So it's a huge moment it's a huge win for the pro-life movement. We're going to talk about the Marine veteran who takes down the mass stabber in Michigan. Dadgum hero, man, saving lives. We got the DOJ arresting the ringleader of a major dark web child exploitation network. We've got the Russiagate stuff just absolutely falling apart and all kinds of stuff. We got a truly packed show. So again, I'm going to remind you folks, and if you watch this after the fact and you're one of my X followers, I apologize. I haven't been able to get the X live stream to work in my software for whatever reason. So apologies to you guys. But let's go ahead and get into this with some breaking news, something that literally just happened not too long ago. But there is a mass stabber a mass shooter. Multiple people shot, including NYPD officers at 51st Street and Park Avenue in Midtown Manhattan. This is from the Post Millennial. Let's go ahead and pull this up, and I've got the video. Some video, I might show that. I don't know if I will or not. But an active shooter situation has been reported in Manhattan with an NYPD officer reportedly among those shot. This is per Fox 5. A heavy police presence was seen in the area of 51st Street and Park Avenue. They reported hearing gunshots. Police officers were telling people to stay out of the area. The sources told the New York Post that at least 3 people were injured by the gunman before he reportedly shot himself. He barricaded himself inside the 33rd floor of the building and was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A lot of stuff is going to come out of this, but look, I say this over and over again. The mental health crisis in this problem is so real here in America. This is a thing that when I was a youngster, we didn't have to worry about this. We didn't have to worry about the mass shootings and all the craziness that's been going on in the world. It just wasn't a thing. I mean, I'm sure it happened somewhere, but I don't recall it. Like it just wasn't a thing. And so it's the mental health crisis that we have in this country, but it also reminds us that we have to stay armed, vigilant, prepared. The Second Amendment is a great thing, and I love it, obviously. But the Second Amendment in the hands of someone who is not skilled in self-defense or the ability to use those implements in order to protect themselves, it's part of our responsibility as good gun owners is to make sure that we're prepared for these difficult situations. And be praying for the NYPD, for the men and women in blue, but. Good gracious, I hate seeing this stuff, and people love to come after the pro Second Amendment folks and say, "Oh, well, it's all you guys. You're the cause of this." Bull butter is what I say, as we say down here in the South. All right, so there's the breaking news. So let's get into the big story of the night: Planned Parenthood shutting down a monster, one of their mammoth facilities, a 78,000 square foot facility was shut down. So Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast will shut down 2 Houston area abortion centers, including its massive 78,000 square foot Prevention Park facility, once the largest abortion center in the Western Hemisphere, in a move hailed by pro-life advocates as a tremendous victory. Yes, it is a tremendous victory. The closures, scheduled for September 30th, follow the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill, the O3B, I guess is what we'll call it, or I don't know what they're calling it. But so this is part of it. It's cutting funding to a lot of these facilities. Planned Parenthood gets $500 million a year from you and me in order to take the lives of helpless babies. Sean Carney, CEO of the pro-life organization 40 Days for Life, told Fox News, "This is massive news for the pro-life movement and shows the direction that Planned Parenthood is going, which is down. Countless people have gone out, offered alternatives. We have they had pro-life buses outside to do free ultrasounds. And by the way, the free ultrasounds, you get, I think it's an 80% survival rate for youngsters, for these babies when a mother sees the ultrasound. We've done this very sick thing of disconnecting the mother from the life that she's carrying inside of her, and that we've dulled what was previously this sharp bond between the two of them. We have dulled that completely. We've got people you could watch, whether it's Charlie Kirk or Kristen Hawkins or Lila Rose or any of these people talking to these pro-life people, talking to folks on college campuses or on their shows like Allie Beth Stuckey. They have convinced these young women that this is a parasite growing inside of them, leeching off of them. And it is horribly, horribly sad. But this is how this fight will be won. It's going to be won by legislation that takes away this federal funding from these horrific facilities. And kudos to the Trump, to the Trump folks for getting this into the legislation. We talked. I'm a spending hawk. You guys know that if you've watched me for any length of time. But for new folks, I am a big time spending hawk. I'm all about the money. Where's that money going? And even to USAID, which was spending some money in some good places, but was also spending money on transgender tap dancing in the Sudan or whatever it was. I've got a problem with those sorts of things. But we're doling out money to private enterprises like Planned Parenthood, which does nothing, by the way. This whole, providing alternative health care, this, that, and the third, that's just not true. It's not a fact. They don't do the ultrasounds. They don't do the pap smears. They don't do all the other health related things that they say they do. Kristen Hawkins, watch her. She and Lila Rose are two of the best names out there. Her and Allie Beth Stuckey. They will tell you they have done the research. They've been to these facilities. Some of them have worked in these facilities. At some of these pro-life folks. And they say, no, this is not what we do. 100% of their profit margin is based on abortions. Selling you on abortions. Selling women, young women, on abortions. And to have a 78,000 square foot killing factory shut down is amazing. And here's some of the things that they cited. So Life News, they said that they cited rising costs, staffing shortages, and low reimbursement rates as contributing factors in the decision to consolidate operations. So shutting down buildings because they can't get people to work for them. Praise the Lord. You know what that tells me? Because nursing is primarily women. I mean, that's just it. We could get into debates about men and women and what they do. That's not the kind of debate that I'm going to have tonight, or not the type of conversation I'm going to have. Women tend, because of they're more personable than men are. They're into the people business. Jordan Peterson has done extensive research on this, and women go into nursing. That's what they do. One of the things, because the money is incredibly good, abortion clinics, and you get women who came through the education system, through the medical system, all of which are indoctrination factories, and they say you can make a boatload of money if you go to an abortion clinic. Well, now women are starting to come around because the pro-life movement is having a lasting impact, and it's great. I love seeing it. And then when you couple that with legislation like the Big Beautiful Bill, which I don't agree with all of it, obviously, it's still got pork in it. They've all got pork. But if we can get these little wins, this ends a monstrous industry in this country, a barbaric industry in this country. And one, by the way, which is not dissimilar from the other, civilizations of the past. This has been a long-term thing. The taking of infant life, it's this separation of women and men from the infant, the breaking up of the family. These are things that are long-standing evils of American society, and I believe, I won't get theological on you, but it's the perfect way for the evil one, let's just say for the devil, to separate families, to break us apart, to harm our society, to harm our culture. This is a big win. This is huge. By the way, the fact that they had $26 million, think of an industry that does this. $26 million, what this facility cost back in the day. Whew. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? All right, so I'm going to get past this one, but I believe this is a win for the, against the social contagions, one of the social contagions that we're fighting. But as I was saying in the intro with the shooting that's going on in New York, this is the mass stabbing. You probably heard about it. It was in Michigan. And this armed Marine veteran, look, I'm a veteran. 21 years I spent in the armed forces. half active, half reserve. So I wasn't full on active duty the whole time, but I did my deployments. I deployed multiple times, many times. And veterans are some of our greatest protectors in our society because that's something that was trained into them. It was built into them that they, for all the guys walking around with PTSD that are looking around their shoulders in every crowded room that they're in, those are your biggest advocates. Those are the ones that are going to step up and help. And in this instance, an armed vet, Marine veteran, don't mess with a Marine, by the way, he was praised as a hero after subduing the Walmart knife attacker in Michigan. So on Sunday, police identified the 42-year-old man who was charged with stabbing 11 people in a Michigan Walmart after the suspect was subdued by armed Marine veteran Derek Perry. Derek Perry, if you want to come on the show, bring it, buddy. Let's talk about it. The incident occurred on Saturday afternoon. 4 of the victims were in serious condition after the incident. The guy was 42. Also, I don't even want to say the guy's name. You know what? I'm not going to give him credit. He was arrested following the stabbing spree and has been charged with 11 counts of assault with intent to murder, and authorities are also seeking terrorism charges against him. Michelle Shea, the Grand Traverse County Sheriff, said that Gills has a previous history of assault as well as controlled substances. So here's a good plug for prison reform. Maybe some of these violent folks shouldn't be getting out as quick as they're getting out. Recidivism rates in America are just nuts. I used to listen to Ted Nugent talk about it for as I guess aggressive as Ted Nugent is in his delivery. He definitely serves a purpose. But this is what he talked about. The recidivism rates are ridiculous. And this guy obviously had drug problems. He had behavioral health problems. He had violence problems. And here he does this, 11. Now I don't believe, my understanding is that none of them have perished. Praise the Lord for that. But it once again is a prime example of this mental health problem, this mental health crisis in America. And it's not just here. I listen to folks, there's a guy, he does content about Chicago, and I'm hoping to get on his show at some point. He's one of the guys trying to flip them red. He talks about it all the time. He lives in it. He lives amongst it. Places like Chicago and other Democrat strongholds with their homeless problem, they create this environment where people can't live, and then they're on the streets. And you've got violent people, often addicted to drugs and other things, on the streets, and they terrorize the civilian community. It's very, very sad. So this is the guy. This is our hero right here. Let's watch him. Check this out. Oop. He's the guy in the middle with the dreads.
Throw the knife that way. Throw it away. Throw it away. Hey, he hasn't dropped it.
And they're covering, obviously, people that are gravely wounded. Well, and this video keeps freezing here. I'll tell you what the problem is. I do see one problem in this video, is that none of the other guys have firearms. That's a problem in my book. That's a big time problem in my book. Look, as I said, when I was growing up, I never had to deal with this nonsense. We never had to deal with this mess. But now I don't leave the house without one. I wouldn't think of leaving the house without one. But there was years and years ago, there were a lot of reports from VAs across the country who were trying to catalog veterans, particularly veterans with PTSD that had firearms, and they were trying to say that as a qualifier for care, they had to tell them how many firearms and what types they had in the house. This is a prime example of why that is a ridiculous way to go about this. Because these are the people that you want to be armed in your society. Not all of them are perfect with a fire, but this guy, he had his firearm, he was prepared, he subdued the guy, he stopped an attack. He's a hero. Praise the Lord for people like that. I like the good news stories. I don't know about you guys. I could sit here and talk about bad stuff all day long. But Derek Perry, you're a hero, buddy. We love you. Thank you. There you go. That's what I'll say on that one. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about, speaking of mental health problems, It's bad stuff, but there's good spins on this. And the reason I'm saying there's good spins on this is because we're seeing some justice. Maybe not always justice where we want it to be, if you watched any of my videos about Epstein and all that stuff. But the FBI and the DOJ arrest the ringleaders of a dark web child, I can't say that word on YouTube, exploitation network with over 120,000 users. Oh, guys. So the Justice Department has announced the results of Operation Grayskull, a sweeping joint investigation with the FBI that dismantles 4 dark websites dedicated to child CSAM, we'll just call it that. The operation has so far resulted in 18 convictions across multiple federal districts and significant sentences for offenders involving the distribution and advertisement of this stuff. Look, there's a guy he's on Rumble, and they call him I'll just say the PED, we'll call him the map hunter, the minor attracted persons hunter, but think of the other word. Anyway, this guy is getting hundreds of people a year just by himself. He and his crew, they're getting hundreds and hundreds of people a year and bringing them to justice. He's confronting these guys, talking to these guys, and the repeat offense of this sort of sickness is off the charts. And in his estimation, and I wish I could remember that guy's name. I was trying to look it up before the show because he just came to mind, is the repeat offenders it's a massive number of them. It's ridiculous that they could go spend years in prison. They get out and the first thing they do is go seek this evil material. And here we go. Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, they're bringing down this one. Now, I can't wait until they bring down the Epstein one. But again, I promised you I wouldn't get into that tonight. I'm not going to get into that one tonight. So we'll leave it there. But so one of the most notable sentences came last week when Thomas Perry Katsampis, 52, of Eagan, Minnesota, was sentenced to 250 months in prison, lifetime supervised release in order to pay $23,000 in restitution. Katsampis pleaded guilty in February to conspiracy to advertise and distribute child, because I can't say it on YouTube. According to the court records, he joined one of the dark websites in 2022, actively advertised and distributed CSAM material, including material depicting prepubescent children, and eventually became a site moderator responsible for posting rules, advertising others. I can't, the sickness that it takes to do this. Hundreds of thousands of people on just these sites. There's a lot of other stuff out there on the dark web. There's some horribly sinister stuff out there on the dark web. And when people start going to prison, when we start seeing justice for this stuff, you will see it try to go deeper and deeper underground, and that's where we need to focus our resources, and where I hope Pam Bondi and Kash Patel will over the next 3 years eradicate this disease from our society. So kudos to them for doing that. Kudos to them. Again, I told you, justice, seeing things actually happen here. That's, it's good. Yeah. Let's be clear. Let this be a clear warning, says U.S. Attorney Hayden P. O'Byrne for the Southern District of Florida. We will relentlessly pursue and prosecute anyone engaged in such atrocities. As well you should. Put them under the prison. As I think it was Tim Burchett. I'm going to see if I can find that video. Tim Burchett said this, and I was going to play it on Braver Than the Rest. I was on that. Again, I like to pitch them. You can go to Braver Than the Rest. Let me see if I can find the Tim Burchett video. He basically said, hang him in the streets. Hang him out for all the people to see. And he's like, I don't even care at this point. Just get rid of him. And I said, that's the way you got to approach this. Let them know you're going to be merciless when you go after folks like that. I love it. Okay, so college-educated Gen Z men. I know I'm speeding through these. I'm giving you guys the highlights, but I'm trying to do this one as kind of a short episode. And I just want to keep you guys informed. That's what we're here to do. Inform, converse. Go in the comments, by the way. If you got any comments about this stuff, I'd love to hear it. It's always wonderful when I get folks in the comment section. Okay, so again, and I know I'm going heavy on the post-millennial tonight, but that's okay because it's one of my favorite publications. They're fantastic. College-educated Gen Z men face similar unemployment level to non-college educated counterparts. This is interesting because I was the other day I had the I had to replace the entire sewer line in my house. And I was talking with the plumber. He's 20, I think he was like 24 years old. And I don't think he finished college, but he basically was acknowledging that, his job is AI proof. You're not going to have AI come out and fix your sewer line. Not in my lifetime. We're not. Even as fast as AI is moving, we need men and women to be out here fixing sewers, fixing electrical, building buildings, keeping this infrastructure running, which, by the way, that's what men do. This entire society would shut down without men doing these jobs. But that doesn't mean that women don't do some of the jobs too, which is fine. But the problem is we are telling all these kids, and I was told the exact same thing, that the only way you're going to be successful in life is if you get a college degree. Well, I learned after many, many years that was completely bogus, and that I kind of had the exception. I went to a military college, and I had some liberal professors, but by and large, the people that were, teaching me, they were liberal, but not over the top. It wasn't anything like today. And so I've seen it, though, as even in the military, we were telling people, if you want to get promoted, you have to get a college degree. You got to get a college degree to get a college degree. And you get these folks that come out of these institutions of higher learning, and they're changing their worldview, but not for the better. They're changing their worldview, and they rapidly become institutionalized and liberal, much more liberal than when they went in. I think that whole pitch was to drive more people into the indoctrination system. But they've done it at the detriment of welders, builders, electricians, plumbers. You think about it, the guys that work with their hands. That's the kind of guy my dad is and was. He's in his 70s, and he's still working 7 days a week with his hands. He's a man's man. We've kind of gotten away from that, and we've told people that that's somehow a bad thing, that that's something to be ashamed of. And can you think of anything more ludicrous, and can you think of anything more damaging to a society than to tell men that, hey, if you want to get these jobs working with your hands, what are you going to be, some lower level of society? No, I'll tell you what, the plumbers are making more money than I make. You can write your own ticket if you're a plumber. You can literally write your own ticket if you're a plumber, if you're an electrician, if you're a carpenter, if you work with your hands. And it obviously doesn't help you get a job, because everybody and their brother's got a college degree. Now it's become you got to have a master's degree. It's like, oh, well, let's get you more education. Let's keep you in the system a little bit longer. I just can't help but think that sometimes this is an orchestrated thing. You know what I mean? That it's like, all right, well, now that we've got social media and people can get opinions from other folks outside of the education system, maybe we ought to do something to change this. Let's say that you need a master's degree. Once everybody's got a bachelor's, let's add on another 2 to 4 years. Keep you in that indoctrination factory just a little bit longer. Okay, let's talk about the FBI raid at Mar-a-Lago. They were in search of Russiagate files. Okay, I'm going to see if I can pull this video up. I was having trouble with it just a minute ago for whatever reason. And let's see. Nunes, now chairman of the president's Intelligence Advisory Board, said the Biden administration was desperate to stop then-candidate Donald Trump from returning to office. Yes. This, by the way, this is one of the biggest stories. I haven't covered it heavily, but we now know that we were wholeheartedly lied to about, we knew that way back then, but Democrats like Adam Schiff and others, they carried on that narrative, that Russia narrative, well past the time that we, the average Americans, knew that Russiagate was an absolute scam. And now it's come out that the reason that they went there was because of this. The reason they went to Mar-a-Lago was because of this fake information. So Devin Nunes, let me see if I can get this to play. All right, I'm going to pull it up so you can watch it, because it's always good. Showing is always better than telling, as I always say. And here we go. Let's see if this will work.
Wasn't very long ago. That was an attempt. Whatever they were looking for, whatever scheme they had cooked up, whatever they were looking for, they didn't find, clearly. But that was to try to stop President Trump from being reelected.
Unbelievable.
That's all it was. And so there's a lot more to do with that. I'm happy that the Justice Department has this strike force. And look, I'm going to, as chairman of the President's Intelligence Board, I'm going to try to get out as much of this information and get it declassified as possible.
So you believe that they raided Mar-a-Lago because they were looking for this? They were looking for the intelligence community assessment, your report on Russia's influence campaign targeting the 2016 presidential election. That's why they raided Mar-a-Lago?
I believe it had to be one of the things that they were looking for. Because, look, that report is pretty damning if people take the time to read it. It's, 45 pages. It spent, we had a dedicated team that spent nearly 2 years down at the CIA looking through this. It was blocked from getting out. And the reason that report is so important, right, that's, let's just dumb it down, simply put. We went through every single piece of intelligence that existed. And if anything, it was clear that if Putin was going to do anything, he probably wanted Hillary Clinton to win. But in fact, if you just apply a little common sense to it, the fact is that nobody around the world thought that President Trump was going to win in 2016. Same with Vladimir Putin. He didn't either. And so when you go through that, that was the intelligence. Every piece of intelligence that existed we went through it. It's in that report. And what do we know? After all this, after all, Trump and Russia and collusion, the two people that didn't collude? Trump and Russia. That's what we found out. We know that Clinton colluded. We know the DNC colluded. You had John Podesta on earlier, sitting there lying on television. He cooked that whole damn thing up. He had to be part of the team that cooked that up for the Clinton campaign.
Let me get your take on this strike force. Do you think the DOJ's strike force will be able to actually give us accountability? Everything's now going to flow through this strike force, right?
Yeah, and look, and eventually, I'm assuming once they gather all this information, you broke news this morning with John Ratcliffe saying that there was additional information in the Durham report. I've never seen that. So that will be new. That'll be new information. I think once you compile that, then the strike force will have to work with real investigators, unlike the investigators, these fake investigations that have gone on. So I'm confident that between the Trump Justice Department, working with Kash Patel and Bongino over at the FBI, they'll have a real team of people that will actually look at this in its entirety, get to the bottom of it, and then at that point, there's no question, John Ratcliffe, as you know, made criminal referrals. Don't forget, I made a dozen criminal referrals as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. So, those are all sitting over there somewhere. So hopefully the conspirators will be held accountable.
All right. Accountability is what this is all about. This was, and people pitch this, and I don't think they're entirely incorrect, as one of the biggest scandals in American history. I mean, it's literally that bad that you're talking about guns drawn, armored vehicles, and guys in body armor against a political opponent, seeking some sort of data to validate something that everybody knew was false, and to do it for the public spectacle. That's part of it, right? This is they needed that spectacle that they could, flash all over CNN for 2 to 6 months, however long it was. Like, it's a huge, huge deal. And by the way, that photo there, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but this was a doctored photo. So they laid out, in some cases, they put classified cover sheets on non-classified information just to make it look worse. It's really, really crazy. And we got to take a quick look back to see what these people were saying. And let's use, other than Mazie Hirono, probably one of the least intelligent people to ever sit as an elected representative in either the House or the Senate is Eric Swalwell. Listen to this.
Evidence. I've followed this pretty carefully. Where's the actual evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Putin?
So 2014, 15, 16, Russians hack into our DNC. They weaponize social media. 2015, they make what I think is the first approach that we know. So Felix Sater, Russian-American, former business partner with Donald Trump, approaches Donald Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, and says, let's get Donald Trump to build a Trump Tower in Moscow.
Right.
We can engineer this, get Trump and Putin together, and make our boy president. So that's the first known approach. So the hacking's going on, and you start to see these different approaches. And there's two different types of approaches. There's the approaches to get Trump and Putin together, which is unusual because he's a candidate. And then there's the approaches to preview the hacked emails that the Russians have against Hillary Clinton. So you see that offer made to George Papadopoulos. What does candidate Trump do? He invites the Russians on a public stage to hack more.
I mean, I hate to inject common sense into this.
Would you do it in broad daylight?
To make secret contact with Russia, your handlers back in Moscow, wouldn't you dial them up in the shortwave in the basement? Would you really send a coded message in the middle of a joke at a press conference?
I'm not saying he's the smartest guy in the world, Tucker.
Oh my
Never
God.
accused
So
of that.
that's the
Part of the
smoking
evidence.
gun right there.
That's part of the evidence.
Carefully, where's the actual
Oh, I just skipped. Oops, my bad. Look, that guy, I'm shocked he can walk and chew gum at the same time. I would be shocked if he tied his own shoes in the morning. I think of him as the kid that was sitting in the corner eating crayons, picking his nose with a Kool-Aid mustache. That's Eric Swalwell, and somehow he made his way into Congress. And here he is spreading what was verifiably false information. They had this full drawn-out narrative, all fabricated by a disgraced MI6 guy who was basically just, peddling, conflict smut in the American political system. And now we've got CIA Director Ratcliffe. I'm going to play this video clip. This one was from here recently. Check this out.
There is still an opportunity for indictments, potential prosecutions, accountability from those people who may have lied under oath, like John Brennan, James Comey, and perhaps Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's why I've made the referrals that I have. DNI Gabbard has made referrals.
Yeah.
And why we're going to continue to share the intelligence that would support the ability of our Department of Justice to make bring fair and just claims against those who have perpetrated this hoax against the American people and this stain on our country.
So basically what they're saying is, if they can make this a continuous conspiracy against the president, in that sense, they can still go back. The statute of limitations, if the conspiracy hasn't concluded, this is my understanding anyway, if the conspiracy against Trump hasn't concluded, the statute of limitations is not an issue. And they can still pursue prosecutions against Hillary Clinton and the like for this evil, the other people that were involved in it. So that in and of itself gives me a glimmer of hope. Do I think that's actually going to be the case? No, I don't think so. I have a hard time believing that. But at the very least, if we can get a court of law to show that this, I don't even know how we would pitch it to a Democrat to make them believe this or have them believe it. But if we could, it would be, oh my goodness, huge win for us. And a huge win for justice. The American people, myself included, it's just like you've been waiting for some form of justice for these wrongs that have been done. And we're starting to see glimmers of that. Let's not forget, by the way, I don't know if you guys forget this or not, but I do sometimes. I think, oh, what are we, a year or two into this? No, we're not even a year into Donald Trump's presidency. And these are the types of things that are being revealed. These are the types of things that we are trying to prosecute, and it's glorious. I love it. I'm still going to criticize him for the things that I'm not a huge fan of, obviously. But you got to call out the wins where the wins exist, and there have been a lot of them. Far more wins than losses since Donald Trump has been president of the United States. So this is all I've got. I've got a couple more things that I was going to talk about, but I'm going to save those for tomorrow. This week, I am doing live streams every single night this week. So, and I say every night, Wednesday will be over on Braver Than the Rest. So you can check out, you can go to Google, Rumble, go to Braver Than the Rest, check it out. But if you enjoyed this content, please do me a favor, guys. Hit that subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is released. That's what's going to help this channel continue to grow. We are growing. We're getting new viewers. We get engaged comments, engaged commentators, people in the comment section. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying this, and this is my passion. And I want you guys to be involved in this community because ultimately that's what we're trying to build here. So thank you all so much. God bless you. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump and all the brave men. By the way, let's pray for the folks in blue, the men and women in blue up in New York as they're dealing with that horrific situation up there. Pray for the families of the people that were involved. Same for the stabbing victims in Michigan. Let's pray for those as well. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., excuse me, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern for the next show. Love you guys, and I'll see you then.